Here we go. Welcome back to Launchpad TV. Special time, same place. Here we are. Hi, my name's Chris.
And I'm Ann, and this is
Launchpad
TV. And we are so excited to be back today. We have a great show for you today. Elizabeth Gore is here from Alice. She's going to tell us about a fantastic new program that they've launched for small businesses in the time of COVID-19. And our very good friend, Dan Pierson from Bolt Travel, is going to drop some insight on the chaos that is the travel industry. So as you guys all join us, it's great to see you again. A couple things. One, thank you for everyone who joined us for Wind Down Wednesday. We'll be posting the video with Megan Glad from Rhyme Sellers on both Facebook as well as our YouTube channel and in the blog. So don't you worry. You will, if you missed it yesterday, you will be able to drink with Megan today. One of the things we've been doing at Launch, we miss Launchpad. We miss working in our offices. I bet some of our members do as well. And so Chris, why don't you share with us a little bit about what we are doing to help you feel like you're at home at Launchpad and not at home in your closet.
Well, we're in Launchpad Memphis. All right. Let's see where else we can time travel to. Oh, start with yes, a Launchpad core value. Wait, let's see. I can do that and it
even better.
Come out right?
No, it still doesn't come out right. We're gonna work on that.
Where else? Okay, here we are. We're in Newark.
In case you've never been to Newark, this is our amazing. If you can see that, that's some polycarb in the background. For those of you who've been to a WeWork that's covered in glass, we love our polycarb here at Launchpad.
And here we are back in New Orleans.
Somebody should have people in the background, so it'd be like.
I always say every photo that we have for Launchpad needs to have people in the background. Our members are our magic. It's not about desks and chairs, right?
No, it's definitely not about desks and chairs.
Now we just got rid of you.
But yeah, all right, well, I guess we should take it off.
Okay. And there's Launchpad Stockton.
There we go.
Huddle, Launchpad, everybody who's hanging there.
Vibrant locations, beautiful spots, it's amazing. So, well, you know what else? Let's take the background off.
I'm gonna take the background off.
Gotta get ourselves a green screen.
There we go.
I also am wearing some New Orleans inspired gear. I'm pumped to share this. This is my Mardi Gras outfit. That is a special capsule edition by Supreme Street, which is a friend of Chris's. And they did it for this very cool, much cooler than me brand of attire called Paper Planes. So if you need some Mardi Gras spirit in your leisure wear, I highly recommend them. Check them out on Insta and go order yourself some sweet leisure wear that will take you out of COVID-19 and make you look cool in the future too. So, you know what I'm liking these days?
What are you liking these days?
Sure, he's just tapping on us. As we're getting ready for our main, waiting for our main guest to join us here.
Here she is.
And we are so excited to have you, Elizabeth. Finally get to meet you in person from Healdsburg, California. We've never met, so here we go. But you know what I am liking these days?
What's that?
I am liking that our town, and I think a lot of other places, are embracing what is one of the core values of New Orleans. Can you think of what it could be?
Mardi Gras?
Yeah, Mardi Gras? No, it's to-go culture. So if anyone's been in New Orleans, one of the best parts of New Orleans is you pop into your favorite bar. It literally could be the fanciest bar you've ever been. You could be in the French 75 and say, I want a delicious Sazerac with a side of gougères, because that's what I definitely recommend, or a French 75 cocktail. And you can say, I'd like it to go. And they'll hand you a to-go cup, often branded, not like this, but branded with the name of the restaurant or the bar that you have, and you take it out, and then you get to wander around New Orleans any day, any hour, and really enjoy a to-go cocktail.
It's true freedom, isn't it?
Yes. In the definition of freedom, that is one of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the things that I'm loving right now about COVID-19 and the experience of sheltering in place is with all of our restaurants and bars who are doing to-go activity, they are also doing to-go cocktails. So I have been enjoying the mezcal margarita from Agave. And last night we had some delicious cocktails from Duke's, and they're all like packaged up and you can take them home. And if your bar can't support the bar.
Interestingly, New Orleans is not allowing those right now.
What?
Neil Bodenheimer of Cure was shut down for offering to-go cocktails.
That's
so
right.
I think that's BS.
That is BS. I'm hoping that we literally just embrace this. We continue with it. It'll be a great thing. Bars will get in on it, and you can still enjoy your delicious cocktail, which is actually kind of funny because we haven't been able to go to Duke's in almost a year and a half because they don't allow kids under 18. And on the first day that we were out with Harper, she was 3 weeks old, we walked into Duke's in our little thing. We're like, we could get a cocktail. Oh. And they were like, get out now. And they sort of ran us out. And it's been months since we've been back.
Yeah.
Not just because they ran us out, but
now they bring it to you.
Now we can take it out, so it's pretty great. All right, well, let's jump into our next segment. This next guest, as Chris is
Elizabeth, I'm going to bring you
to join
in as Aim's introducing you.
All right. She may make you feel like you are slacking when I tell you about her bio, but I think she could be your inspiration to do great things. Elizabeth Gore is the co-founder and president of Alice, which is a multi-channel platform that helps businesses launch and grow. Alice guides business owners by providing access to funding, networks, and services through a network of more than 100,000 companies in all 50 states and across the globe. Alice is building the largest community of businesses anywhere. And I'm going to give you a few fun facts about Elizabeth before we let her even talk. Entrepreneur, I'm just going to run through them. It's amazing. Entrepreneur in residence.
What's about cocktails?
At Dell, let's talk about cocktails. Served the UN for nearly a decade, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. People magazine named her as one of its top 100 extraordinary women, and next year she's going to be sexiest woman alive. Fast Company called her one of the most creative people in business. She was Entrepreneurs Magazine's Women to Watch, former U.S. Peace Corps volunteer in Bolivia. Chris's parents were Peace Corps. He didn't.
No way.
Part owner of the Gore family vineyards, which means you might be coming back for Wine Down Wednesday. World champion equestrian, sprint triathlete and runner. I'm tired already. Elizabeth, welcome to the show.
You know what that doesn't say? Third grade math teacher.
Wow. The new math too.
Oh my Lord. I have a 5-year-old.
Skills now that we're in.
Oh my gosh. My 8-year-old was like, Mommy, you're not very good at math. And I was like, no shit. It's not what I do.
But it's different now, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Don't do the same stuff.
Oh, I wasn't good at it before, but now it's, next level. I mean, I can run like a multi-million-dollar budget, but ask me to do that without a computer and I'm toast. So I'm being schooled by an 8-year-old now is truly my day job. But thanks for having me on, y'all. It's great to see faces. I love hearing names like Duke's. We went over and got a dirty martini to go the other day with Cappy, which made me very happy. I would like to say it made it home, but it didn't.
That's New Orleans. That's the New Orleans in you.
That's right. And I love New Orleans. I grew up in South Texas and showed horses over there about every other week. So I'm heartbroken to what they're going through right now, but they are so resilient there, and the small business owners are resilient, and they'll make it. They'll make it.
Yeah.
You bet. We've been often talking about, so Chris's experience in a post-Katrina New Orleans, we've been talking to a lot of our cities about New Orleans is built to handle a crisis.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe not from an infrastructure perspective, it's literally built to create crisis, but in the aftermath, they sure know how to get back to work.
Yeah, the spirit. Also, something I love about New Orleans is they have always valued their small business owners, period. And they're really the backbone there. And seems like after every crisis, they just get people back to work quickly and help each other to do it, which is awesome.
That's right.
Yeah. So let's jump in. I think that first of all, we're really excited to have you here, and I think we've been connected from afar, and now together, and interestingly, realizing that we have
We're in the
connections
same
here in
city.
Healdsburg too. But we're obviously focused on very similar things in terms of helping small business owners, startups, the business community. And I want to get into sort of the time of crisis that we're in right now, but let's start a little bit, back up a little bit. Talk to us about Alice and what your focus is, and just introduce to our audience what you're doing with Alice.
Sure, you got it. Well, hello, Alice. My co-founder, Carolyn, and I, she's in Texas. We really, similar to my statement about New Orleans, love small business owners. And my decade with the UN, every city after the UN would leave that would be successful really had strong entrepreneurship, small business owners, a very fast Main Street that was built. Carolyn is a Latina immigrant, and she really felt like when she came to the US, it was a place for her to have opportunity to build her own company. So we built Hello Alice to be a fully digital service to launch and grow small businesses. This is Chaco, by the way. Can you say hi? The old man. He doesn't leave my side, so he's on all my calls. And there'll probably be 2 kids, 3 grandmas come in here. So we got to roll with it.
Yeah.
But what we really wanted to do though is help business owners, because they're so time poor, to find resources that were appropriate for their stage of growth, physical location, and industry. So we built it on top of machine learning so that when you're searching and asking questions, what is very relevant to you is what pops up. And then we built a social enterprise side to what we do to ensure women, people of color, U.S. veterans and military spouses, the LGBTQ plus community. Our most recent rollout was entrepreneurs with disabilities, that we were mining resources for them based on supplier diversity programs or discounts for veterans, or like y'all, Launchpad. Our favorite thing we like to brag about is being the best recruiter for accelerators, for networks, for chambers.
Yeah.
We do not run our own programs. We point to programs that are relevant for that owner.
That's right.
So it's just been awesome. We love our white male counterparts too, but we wanted to make sure that there was enough for everyone in those resources. So I will say business has flipped over, which I'll explain in a minute, but it's been awesome for the last 3 years to watch Alice grow and the community grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that spirit. One of the things that we talk about often in our ecosystem building is how, first of all, you've got to support that grassroots small business community, and that is what we're going to strengthen our economy. And if you're not living on the coast in one of these big cities,
Right.
entrepreneurship is the way through.
Right.
So worlds of automation and change, this is the opportunity for them. And it's so important to be able to support that. And what I love about what I'm hearing from you is that idea of collaboration. And I think what you are noting is there are a lot of programs out there. You don't have to compete on all the programs.
No.
You need to be the conduit and the access point to help people navigate those resources.
Yeah, and what I love about digital transformation, and when I worked for Michael Dell, I just learned so much about connectivity. And I don't think we couldn't have built Alice even 10 years ago, even 8 years ago. And Carolyn is the technical expertise. I'm about an inch deep on it, but this machine learning and digital transformation and geotagging allows us to bring resources to the smallest of cities, which we love. So now I don't necessarily have to launch my company in San Francisco or in Seattle. And we want to support those owners too, but I'm from Friendswood, Texas, and folks can build a business there now thanks to not just the internet, but connectivity. And now with 5G, I'm so pumped to see what that does. While we are in a scary time with COVID, it is also a very exciting time for small business owners to launch and grow.
Yeah, and do you want to talk a little bit about the resource you've got for small business owners now during COVID?
I do. So at Alice, we were inundated. It kind of started with Spain and Italy, I think business owners here started to say, wait a minute, what's going on? We got a lot of questions, but the first shelter in place order, we had thousands of owners contacting us. And I'm not kidding. We are a small company. We only have 20 employees. And we very quickly built out, not what is now the COVID-19 Business Center, but resources on Alice to help. But then when, I think the biggest one was California's shelter in place, which Texas, California are our two largest states for Alice. We just couldn't keep up with demand. So we paused our kind of day job on Alice and built, and if everyone can take a look, it's www.covid19businesscenter.com. And we built it in a way where any small business owners can navigate the resources available to them in real time to support them through this transition. There you go. So it's completely free. We're not selling data. It is really there for you. Then we got very quickly contacted by the National U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They've been inundated, so they have made it their resource for their chambers and their owners. And then we just kept getting amazing phone calls of support from other organizations who wanted to weigh in and support. We've talked almost every other day with the SBA trying to get prepared for the CARES Act. So what you will find in here is also e-learning modules to help you apply for PPP or for EDL. There's also a navigator on all the private funds that are out there. So whether it's Facebook funds or Amazon, and we actually built an emergency grants program. And we're deploying $10,000 grants every 2.5 weeks. So, and those are really meant for businesses with under 20 employees. And that fund, thanks to great partners like Silicon Valley Bank and Verizon, eBay, really continues to grow, which we're proud of. And then finally, I just wanted to flag, we built, and I feel like it was a mistake, we built it a little late, but a mental health center also on the COVID-19 site. Business owners are disproportionately right now going through a lot of mental health issues. They're having to close, they're having to pause, they're having to furlough employees, let people go. It's a very hard time for them. So we're trying to ensure we're tagging and deploying every resource available to a business owner as well. So I really hope the COVID Center helps with it. I think it was 51,000 small business owners went through it in the last 4 days. So we're just working day and night to keep it going.
Oh, that's amazing. And you're exactly right, which is we've been hosting our members here on this show as well as in other forums to talk about PPP, EIDL, all of the factors. And it's interesting, you know, the reality is you're trying to save your business. And now you have to learn how to do all of these additional things on top of that.
Right.
Right. You've got to be your chief lawyer, accountant, bookkeeper, tax expert, whatever the case is. And, you know, we're hearing from folks that like there are big challenges. And I love the combo between here are the resources to help you in this time, but also some of those resources around mental health, because it's, you know, once you take a break from just trying to plug the holes on the business side, realize what a toll that's taken on your psyche. And I just tweeted out, one of our team members got a note from someone that was just really like harsh, and we all were like sort of taken aback, and then we sort of stepped back and said, you know what, someone's having a really bad day.
Totally, yeah.
And we've got to be thinking about the fact that like people have bad days and they write stuff, and this is the time to write. Take a pause before pressing send.
Yeah, don't just send. Yeah, that's the catch. You can write it, but sit on it for a minute.
Maybe just take a beat.
I'm really excited you're doing these also, because the other thing that we found very quickly is, and again, we're a connector, we're not programmatic, but we have been putting our team members out there 2 or 3 times a day in open Zoom calls to help them navigate the center. But what we're finding, y'all, is we just back up and all these business owners start helping each other. Have you applied? Have you applied? Have you done this? One conversation was fascinating that Alaska is just now starting shelter in place, and all these California business owners were sending them tips on what they did. And then the other is folks getting permission to pause their business, getting almost permission to apply for things that I keep hearing. I feel like a failure if I apply for the CARES Act. I feel like a failure if I pause my business. And my message to everyone is you should be applying for everything. You're not going to take it away from the next person. You don't know where you're going to be in 3 to 6 months. It absolutely does not make you a failure. It makes you a really shrewd business person.
That's great.
The second thing is the smartest thing you could possibly do maybe for your business is to close right now and reopen when things get back to normal so you can save that cash flow. So, you know, sometimes I feel like it's almost the mental anguish of what we think was the way, and that is all thrown to shit now. There is no, this is how we used to do things, right? And the one good thing for all of us is everyone's going through it, right? So we're all kind of effed right now. So, you know, so I'm really glad y'all are doing these calls because people need to just talk right now.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that comment about, you know, sort of quickly reconfiguring your psyche, you know, you sometimes call me stubborn. There's sort of this notion of like,
I call you an elephant.
Trudge ahead. It's actually very strategic to think, okay, should I be trudging ahead? Should I be charging ahead? Or should I be taking a break? Even to the point of, you know, we've had indications from some team members that they're like, I actually want to use this time to take a rest, right? I've been working so hard.
That is so smart too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I didn't realize how hard I was pushing, and now I could actually use some space.
Yeah. We've had folks talking about not commuting, like lowered their stress. They actually have more time to work strategically, you know, and it's really, I mean, we might close, I'm just talking out loud now, we might close our San Fran office. It's like, if we're all working this effectively without you having to fight traffic every day, I just think everyone should whiteboard their brains and erase everything and use this time to assess. You know, there's a lot to learn right now.
I can tell you, I mean, the first couple weeks, as we've all talked about, we're just like, you know, you're just hit with the tsunami, right? So now it's like, what do we do? And the last couple weeks, I've been noticing that we're challenging ourselves to think differently about the future and what role we play and how we do that, rather than just playing. So it really is a time for reinvention.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, there's a couple of things right now, right? There's pausing, there's pivoting. I had an article come out, I think last night on Inc. about like the companies that have pivoted. But I also think, to your point, taking the time to rethink and pause and brainstorm is also a huge luxury. It's very wise. And we were on with an economist yesterday who said, whatever your business plan was, no matter how solid it was, no matter how much money you have in the bank, you should be starting a brand new business plan for September 1. Yeah. And I thought that was a really good piece of advice, because I've been thinking of it more of people that are pausing or having trouble with cash flow, but he meant everybody, because we're walking into a new world economy, new way of doing business. And I thought that was a great piece of advice.
I think it is. I mean, one of the things that we've been asking people is, particularly people with sort of domain expertise in some sector or segment of whatever they're in, how do you think the world is going to be different coming out of this? Because you know, every time there is something like this, you know, I went through Hurricane Katrina, which was sort of the genesis of Launchpad in the rebuilding of New Orleans. And, you know, it was a tragedy, but it was also a transformation of the city. There are going to be areas that are areas of opportunity in a new world. I mean, we may be, you know, everybody and literally their mother are learning to use Zoom right now.
Okay, can we pause on that for a second?
Yeah.
All right. But the greatest accomplishment and achievement in my damn life is finally getting my mother on Zoom. And I grew up on a cattle ranch. My mother just got a cell phone, maybe the last couple years. And then I bought her an iPad years ago, and it's been in the box. So my mother is very religious and really missing church. So Jesus Christ himself finally got her on Zoom. I'm telling you. We 17 bottles of tequila later, I made it through, and we got her on Zoom. She did Zoom church, and here we are. But I felt like it was Kilimanjaro itself.
There you go. Now
There
you
you
got
go.
new,
Case in point.
I got a new bullet for you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, that was the one.
My mom called the Apple Store. She loves the Apple Store.
Okay.
To go in person, but now obviously they can only go online. Like, she has them upload pictures to Facebook for her. That's what she thinks the Genius Bar is there for.
Awesome.
So she called them and she's like, I don't know what's happening. They got on the phone. An hour and a half later of chat, she knows that the woman used to be an occupational therapist and now she does work on the
That's
Genius.
awesome. I love it.
It's all about it. Her full name, the whole thing. And the best part of the thing was the guy who was like, so just find the shift key. And my mom's, yeah, where is that shift key?
That is awesome.
And the guy on the other line was like, ah. Anyway,
That is awesome.
where is the shift key?
All right. So speaking of the shit key, let's shift gears and let me.
That was a beautiful transition.
I'm curious, in particular, on some of the SBA stuff, because we've actually been through Alice in the COVID Business Center, and it's incredible the way it sort of bubbles up grants and applications. But obviously, front and center in a lot of people's minds are the PPP and the EIDL, the EIDL. A question for you that I've got that a lot of our members and audience are facing is, things are changing day to day on all of this, but the PPP in particular, because it's administered through banks, a lot of people don't have banker relationships, right? Their relationship with bank is an ATM machine.
Right.
Do you have any advice on, or resources on, getting connected with a banker, at your own bank or at a new bank, at a CDFI?
CDFI. Yeah. So my one is, thank God they're changing the rules to where you don't have to have wet signatures, because one of the biggest issues was having to walk into your bank. So now you can do things on Zoom. You can, you still can't do DocuSign, but you can sign things, scan them, email them, and so on. My advice, folks, right now is to go as local as a bank as possible.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not talking about a branch of a bank. If you have local familial banks in your town, that is your number one shot. The national banks right now are turned upside down. I'm not discounting how hard they're working and so on, but if you have credit unions, if you have very hyper local banks, I mean, we're sitting in Hillsburg, I think we have 4 here, that really is going to be your best shot. The other thing that is an underused resource right now is local SBA offices. So every city with 30,000 people or above have a local SBA office. And a lot of people are calling DC and you're never going to get through. But if you find the number to your local SBA, you have a better shot there. That's a real human. They live in your neighborhood, that can help you, give you advice, or even tell you much better than me that question you just asked, in my area, what is my best shot at this?
Yeah.
And then you cannot discount, in networking is my number one thing about everything on the planet. If you know anyone who knows someone who has a real phone number at a bank, that is a much different relationship than going in fresh. So if your 3rd grade class has a parent who's a banker in it, call them.
Yeah, that's right. Now is not the time to shy away from calling in favors.
And they might even say, we can't handle it, but you call this person. That is, I think the number one thing is your network right now.
And being a squeaky wheel, we
Right.
started. We were talking about the person who
over
sent,
and over
an
and over.
angry email or whatever. I've been sending some, pretty demanding emails, but look like you need attention right now, right?
Right,
So
right.
be a squeaky wheel, really go after
Yeah,
it.
the whole statement I didn't hear back. I've been telling people, don't even say that to me. I mean, you got to call again and again and again, and email and try a different bank. And I know it's tough that that's annoying, but it's the way it is right now.
Yeah.
That's right.
So there are also, you mentioned CDFI, and I want to make sure people understand that there are organizations that are accredited to help you as well. So I would also look at the SBA website, look up where there are CDFI supported institutions as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's interesting, our management company is based in New Orleans. So that's where we're doing a lot of the application process, because it is about going to your local bank, and it is going to be handled by your local banker. And we're an old school Chase customer. And so
We are too.
one of the local banks that we're working with, that we've been talking to, which is Gulf Coast Bank, which is a great bank for all those in New Orleans, and is going to be the primary lender on a lot of these things for the New Orleans community. They've been selected by GNO. They're just awesome.
Yeah.
We've been talking to a banker there, and his comment to me was, I can help you process this application. You're going to be behind everybody else. Like, you don't get to move up in line. So decide if you want me to help you with it, or you can continue through with Chase. And because we have such a long relationship with Chase, but we literally have no personal relationship, we're sort of processing through the Chase thing. Two things we did was, one, he said, you would be behind 2,500 applications. So on average, they take sort of like 10 applications a week. They've had 2,500 in the last week. So that's what even a local bank is dealing with.
Right.
The reality is in Chase, and we finally shipped down enough trees to find a banker.
Well done. Well done.
You can't come home unless you've made 5 calls to Chase. And we've shaken up people down. We found out that we're at 125,000. Is our application number at Chase, which, by the way, is actually a good number. They're over 1 million now. And so you're right, Elizabeth, which is, you need help. This is the time to build that relationship with your local banker. And I think what we're realizing from a small business resource perspective is, now we know what happens when you've got to build your community. You got to build your network. You've got to build your relationships before you need them. And so everyone's got to come out of this stronger for the next time.
Well, also, I want to stress for folks, because of the time this will take, even if you got your application in number 1, it's still going to take time, is to apply for all these other private funds out there. Use the Navigator and the COVID Center, apply for the Facebooks, the Hello Alice's, all of them. Because that will add up, right? 10,000, 20,000 suddenly. And those tend to move a bit faster and be less arduous on the application process. And what I am seeing with our enterprise customers is you're going to see more and more come out as well. So, just keep paying attention to those as well. I think that's important.
Yeah, and we've been including the Resource Center, the COVID-19 Resource Center and Business Center in our newsletter and email, but that's good to hear, because it sounds like you have this sort of connection ability, or funnel, as more corporates and companies that want to provide resources and grants and dollars to Main Street. Alice is a great gateway to that, right? To what's out there. So it's stay tuned to what's going on the platform.
For sure. And finally, again, another owner brought up the other day, some states now are allowing forgiveness on utility bills. A lot of enterprise companies like Salesforce, QuickBooks, Intuit are forgiving monthly fees. So again, as a business owner, things can add up if you take that kind of arduous time and be like, okay, wow, I'm actually spending $8,000 a month on QuickBooks and Salesforce and Comcast and all that. Check in to see if those companies are forgiving those payments or letting you extend them, because that can add up as well and be almost like a grant.
Yeah,
love it.
That's a great idea. Okay, well, thank you for joining us. As Ann said, maybe we'll have you back.
Oh, I love that.
For Wind Down Wednesday.
Wind Down Wednesday.
Yes.
In the future for
That is totally my style, by the way. Totally my style. And I want to come with y'all to Duke's.
yeah, right.
When all this is over, we'll go get a cocktail.
I know, it is funny. I feel like by the way, you had one of the most brilliant, I'm hoping it's you, but you guys had one of the most brilliant ideas from a marketing campaign leveraging influencers. And I'm going to give this example for folks out there because you can always learn, which was a couple of my girlfriends in New Orleans sent me a postcard. Is this you guys?
Yeah, that was us, yeah.
That's right. And so basically I got a personalized postcard from my friend Kelly, who went to a cocktail hour reception just talking about promoting your events and doing those things. I got a handwritten card saying, Ann, you would love this and you'd be amazing to do. And I remember we were out of town and I remember being bummed.
Oh, I love that.
Literally the only event that I would ever, I'm like, am I speaking at that? I'm not sure if I can make that. But I was like, oh, well, Kelly suggested that I should go. Maybe I should go. I love
personal network.
Hyper personal and
Yeah.
really connects with people. And we can't wait to learn more from you.
Well, thank you all for having me. I really appreciated it.
Yeah. All
You're
right.
welcome. Thanks so much. We're gonna let you go.
Bye.
We'll see you soon.
All right. Before we get started on our next one, I'll do my Dan bio, but I'm going to give my shout out to Dan. Dan Pierson from Bolt Travel. This is a guy who always shows up. So in your life, you've got people who show up, who don't show up. You've got people who will say it. This guy doesn't. And he is one of the few people, well, we have actually many people like this, but he is one of those few people and unique people who has so much positive energy. He makes connections without thinking about what's in it for him. He connected us to Anthony in Newark, which was like our entree to Newark. He is the definition of every single one of our Launchpad core values. So for those of you who don't know, Dan is the definition of our core values. He's the guy that starts with yes, we go long, we are first believers, diverse and inclusive, not exclusive, and our members are our magic. So I'm pumped. Dan, I'm so happy to see you.
Wow. Thank you so much for that introduction. It's wonderful to see both of you too. And Elizabeth was amazing, the resources that she provided. I was looking through them as she was talking. It's incredible. Yeah, I'm so happy to see both of you.
Talk about feeling behind
friendly faces and friendly faces in challenging times.
Yeah, it's great to see you too. So where are you, Dan? Because you never know where in the world Dan Pierson is. Where are you right now?
Yeah, so I live in Mexico City, but I am sheltering in place here in Athens, Georgia. It's such a pretty day here that I decided to chat with you guys outside. So I'm here with my brother and definitely grateful for that. I think it's a time to be grateful for roof overhead, food in the fridge. So while I miss home for sure, I'm happy to be here in Georgia.
Great. So Dan, for everyone, as we jump into our interview portion, Dan is the founder of Bolt, the world's first online to offline adventure travel company and the pioneer of community travel. Dan formerly led travel partnerships at Lyft, consulted for organizations like Airbnb and the Rockefeller Foundation in experience design. And then he brought it to Bolt, which balances the freedom and flexibility of solo adventure with the thoughtful design and planning of excellent group travel. Plus the warm camaraderie of a community of like-minded, diverse new friends. I really need to go on one of these trips right now. Members enjoy access to unique trips around the world, from sailing yachts through Greece to celebrating New Year's Eve from treehouse villas in Oaxaca to a 1,000-kilometer guided, self-driven 4x4 safari across
That
Africa.
sounds pretty sweet.
What?
Yeah, man. I just
lots of trips going on right
man, I just before this call, I canceled my flight. I was supposed to fly tomorrow to Kenya, where I know you spent a lot of time, a place that I was really looking forward to visiting. So yeah, we're on hold. We're on hold for the foreseeable future. I think I was happy when you asked me to come on and talk about what comes next in travel instead of when it's coming. Because I think there are ways to make kind of educated guesses towards what that will look like. It's just the timeline is the bigger challenge. So I mean, one thing that we have always focused on at Bolt, and I think is our biggest differentiator, is what we call community travel. So building this community layer on top of group travel, which has existed forever. And in its most recent format is this idea that like folks are putting down thousands of dollars to wait 6 months to fly halfway around the world, to spend a bunch of time with complete strangers they've never met before, which like we've always thought was crazy. It's just a big investment of your time and money. So we've really focused on extending the trip and that travel experience before and after the trip itself. So that's looked like video hangouts with the folks you're going to be traveling with, the guides who are going to be leading the trip. We've got a Slack where you can collaboratively ask questions, member profiles, so you can learn more about the people you'll be traveling with.
Input on your sundowner of choice.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the most important questions out there. Yeah, if you're on an African safari, for sure. So that's something we've, transferred to this new time, and we've been bringing on inspirational adventures onto video hangouts, supporting nonprofits that are doing interesting work in the developing world. So yeah, that's kind of how we're adjusting, or we're trying to anyway.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, it's obviously, too early to tell, or time will tell, but do you think there will be changes in the way we travel, or the frequency? I mean, in some ways, it occurs to me that, Bolt, that you might be well positioned because we might be more thoughtful. If we actually truly are traveling less, we may be valuing it more, and going on a real adventure and investing in that, and making it something that it's like when you're on a diet but you have a cheat day. You're like, I'm
Sure.
really appreciating this pizza I'm eating today. We'll be more thoughtful about it. It takes a little more effort to jump on a plane. I don't know. Those are some things that occur to me. How do you, aside from, the impact on the business, and I want to get back to that in a second, but how do you think that people will travel, coming out of this?
Sure. Yeah. So one of the positives that I've heard other folks in the travel industry talk about, so it's certainly not an original idea, but is this idea that that it could be the death of over tourism, which is, obviously, I think that would be a plus. Like, you have these places that are just run over every summer by folks visiting, and like that, I think has been detrimental to like local culture, the local economy in a lot of ways, apart from maybe like a really centralized group of people who benefit. But then the vast majority of the other workers in the economy don't necessarily have access to like high paying jobs. Environmentally, it's obviously a challenge. So that's one thing that I think could be a benefit. And like, we have always focused on exploration of less visited places. So like that trip in Greece that I think Anne mentioned, that doesn't go to Mykonos, that doesn't go to Santorini. It's going to these other islands that just don't see as many people. And I think you're able to offer more authentic experiences when there just isn't an overflow and just a crush of tourism. So yeah, I think that could be, as an example, that could be one silver lining of what we might see.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like more thoughtful, effortful things. I mean, I know myself and Chris, we are over travelers. We don't go to places where there's millions of people, but the idea of hopping on a plane to go to a bunch of different cities is important to our business. But actually, is it really important? And that's the question we're starting to ask ourselves, which is, and the idea of traveling anywhere and hopping on a plane has always been just second nature for the last 20 years. And part of me says, actually, maybe being more thoughtful and doing, maybe it's one trip a year that we might end up doing, but let's make it really count. And let's not take for granted that travel is actually an extreme luxury that in a lot of cases we've kind of turned into a just easy off the shelf product. And it shouldn't be a luxury in terms of only the rich are able to do it, but a luxury in terms of only doing that in a thoughtful way, I think is something that makes us, that's the silver lining, right? Is everyone going to be a little bit more thoughtful about the footprint they have on the world around?
Yeah, I love that. I think the way that it's going to play out over the next, call it 18 months, I think there's going to be the first place travel is going to come back is going to be local. So like these 2 to 3 hour drives, folks in San Francisco, the first place they're going to go is Sonoma, right? And maybe say hi to you guys up there.
Yeah.
And just looking for those more local experiences. And I think that'll be great for those local businesses, right? That are going to, see the benefits of folks coming back. And those are primarily small businesses, right? I think after that, it'll be more domestic travel, and we'll see that come back. And then I think, the 12 to 18 month horizon is probably looking at international travel coming back, which honestly has been the core of our business, has been international. I would say like probably 20% of the trips we run are domestic, and they've never sold as well as international trips. I think the international trips that we do are a lot more kind of aspirational. And they fit into that bucket of things that you can't do by yourself, like rooftop tent camping safari in Africa, can't really do by yourself. Sailing yachts to the fjords of Norway, can't really do by yourself, as opposed to so it'll be a different landscape to navigate. Like everybody else, I'm just taking it day by day. But I totally do think that there will be, I think you're totally right that people will appreciate those opportunities more, regardless of whether it's in your backyard, in Sonoma, or if it is a really big aspirational trip. Like, I think one thing this has all taught us is that there's so much to be grateful for. I think that will be reflected in the way that people think about travel.
Okay, good. We've got a couple questions coming through in the Q&A, and encourage anybody that has questions for you to continue to ask that. I want to ask one quick question, then we'll get to those. In talking to Elizabeth on the last interview, and one of the things that we've been going through ourselves has been this has been a time of sort of crisis, but as we're going through that, I think trying to be strategic and think about what are the opportunities that it creates. So, sort of two-part question to you. What are some of the areas of immediate crisis that you've been sort of dealing with? Obviously, you getting home, maybe on a personal level, or cancellation of trips, or just how has this impacted you just right now? But then, if you're able to get beyond that, do you think that this opens up new opportunity, or where's your head at in terms of when this comes back and when you hunker down and get through it, what's that going to mean for you?
Sure. So yeah, it's been tough. I mean, we were in the middle of closing our seed round of investment. The lawyers were drawing up the closing docs. The term sheet had dust on it at that point, the signed term sheet, I should say. And the investors ended up pulling out because of COVID. So that was, a massive hit after working on it for, 3.5 months. And so that has reframed a lot of the kind of ways that I think about it. But as an entrepreneur, you just have to adapt, right? And it's not the end all be all. And some of the original investors who came through, who ended up coming through, on a much smaller round, and that is I think, kind of life affirming to me as an entrepreneur, that there are people who, believe in the mission, believe in what we're doing. And, so that was the first major challenge was, of course, like the financial ramifications of that, but then dealing with like the kind of personal, how that's going to affect, like personal finances. And so, yeah, so that was a big one initially, crisis. And then, leaving Mexico, another crisis. And then, I mean, one thing that also has been pretty helpful and reassuring is that like our membership has been super cool in terms of being happy about trip credit instead of issuing refunds for trips that may or may not happen. And like from their perspective, I mean it's such a bummer. Like you save up for this really, really like bucket list trip. We had 2 safaris in April and May. Yeah. And I mean, those trips aren't happening anymore, but they're like, you know what? We're totally cool with this trip credit. We don't need to like, draw down the reserves in terms of cash. Like, let's just apply it to when we can do this in the future. So that's been really helpful. And I think a lot of like my brother is he belongs to a yoga studio here in Athens, and he's supporting that local business as they transition through this time. And I think people have just been like, by and large, super cool about that, which is very helpful. So so those were the 2 kind of big challenges that came to mind. And we navigated one while the other was unfortunately not salvageable. But and then in terms of opportunities, I mean, we've launched a bunch more domestic trips for this fall. And hopefully, by the fall, we'll have things a little bit more squared away in terms of what that looks like people getting outside, people. And I think to your point, they're like, they're trips that while they may not be like Instagram, epic checklist focused, whatever, like they're trips that have their own kind of charm to them. And that I think people will appreciate. And that that's where I've been kind of focusing my time is on the design of those trips. And that gets to the question that I don't have an answer for, which is when. Really, it's all, I think, just like conjecture in terms of what that will look like. But I think domestic will be this fall, like this late summer into fall. I think we'll start to see some domestic travel come back. Yeah. And then, I mean, maybe next, early winter or early 2021 into spring is when hopefully we'll see some international travel come up. But just taking it day by day. Travel is, I saw this guy, he tweeted, if you're a startup founder and you're feeling down on yourself, at least you're not a travel company founder.
I know, I saw your tweet. You're like, I am. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Any advice for us?
Yeah, right. All right. Thanks, Dan. Let's get to some of the questions. I don't even know if you can see these or if just I can see these, but I like Ariel's question here. Will cruise ships go away? What do you think is going to be the impact on
what she also said, finally.
Yeah. Great question. I don't think so. I mean, the Saudis they just bought 10% of Carnival at probably a bargain basement rate. Like, those companies, one thing that I am grateful for is that like we're super asset light. We don't really own any assets, as opposed to like if you're thinking about the maintenance on those cruise ships as nobody's traveling. I'm probably on Ariel's side in terms of like wanting them to go away and not being particularly invested in their success. But I think
more thoughtful travel with like things that you do. Yeah.
Yeah, although I was glad to see that they didn't get a bailout, because I mean they're flagged in other countries. They don't pay U.S. taxes, is my understanding. So like, I can understand wanting to support essential industries like airlines that we're going to need when all this stuff is over. But like, so yeah, I could see them going away, but I think they'll squeak by. I think they're so cheap right now that like there are folks who are coming in and supporting them from like a market standpoint.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
All right. And so Alec is asking, are your customers predominantly U.S. customers, or do you work with people, and this might actually be an opportunity. This is interesting. Other companies, other countries, coming to the U.S.
Yeah, so we're about 60% US, 20% Canadian, Mexican, Central American, and then 20%. Yeah, Canadians in the house. And then 20% international. So that's Australia, New Zealand, Europe. So yeah, that's the kind of split. And I think, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in terms of travel coming back in waves in different places. Like, one thing that I know a lot of people in the industry are taking some solace in is like China is already opening back up in terms of flights, in terms of hotels. Like, people are traveling in China. So I think there, to your point, there will be opportunities in different places at different times. And I think one advantage that we have is that because we're so small compared to like the bigger players in the market, like we can probably be a little bit more nimble there, and try to do things in different places a little bit more quickly.
Amazing.
Well, let's just before we let you go, talk about anybody in the audience who might want to join Bolt, and I'm putting your URL in the chat right now. But just talk a little bit about now or more in normal times, what it would be like to be a Bolt member, why you might join Bolt. Give us.
I joined for that picture alone.
I know. I want to.
Which one are you looking at?
We're looking at your. I'm going to share the screen. We're looking at your homepage right now.
I mean, my jacket is nice, but
It's Baja there. So if you kind of zoom in.
Yeah, I see the truck right there.
Yeah, so that's
look at that. That's so cool.
Yeah, so that's a Toyota 4Runner rooftop tent. So we run an epic 8-day trip from San Diego down to Loreto that passes through Desert Oasis Hot Springs, and this is on the Sea of Cortez side, but then Old Spanish Missions, and yeah, that's Africa there. Those are both photos from Africa, actually. Yeah, and I think one thing that I think we do a little bit differently is that focus on community, and I think hopefully that'll serve us well when all this stuff is, I like to say, when coronavirus is done and dusted. I think people are going to want to come together for sure, and I think they're going to want to do it in a more informed, intentional way. And I think businesses that focus on community, like Launchpad for sure, are going to be able to offer that in like more authentic ways, and just be able to connect people more authentically, which is something that we've thought a lot about, that we focus on. So I would say that's when I think about why folks join, like they don't join to take trips, they join to meet other people through video hangouts, to meet people locally. And yeah, if I could give one little plug for a free event tonight that anybody can join that I'm really looking forward to. I think I mentioned this. We've been doing these video hangouts, like Launchpad as well, which I think people really take, it's like a respite to just see, participate, but also just
I'm always surprised to see our audience pop up. Like, you're back?
Yeah. People, and even if if they hop in for 5 minutes, it's like I saw something about like people go out to a Zoom restaurant, and then they might go see a Zoom movie, and then they're at the Zoom club. It's like you don't have to spend 2 hours at each of those places. Like you can, kind of just hang and chill and maybe drop in for 10 minutes. But we've been doing these chats with like professional rock climbers and photographers who just came back from Antarctica, and they share their photos and their stories, and nonprofits. Yeah. So tonight we have the founder of a nonprofit called Artolution that's coming on board. And Artolution partners with the UN, they partner with the international rescue community, and they bring art, instruction, and supplies into refugee communities around the world. So Syrian refugees, the Rohingya in Myanmar, the favelas in Rio de Janeiro. So they go into those communities, they give them what they need to create beautiful works of art, which is, amazing in itself. And what they're focused on now is they've gotten grants from the World Health Organization to go back into those communities where people don't have tables, they don't have chairs, and they're creating public health messaging around COVID-19 to share that message of, wash your hands, cover your mouth when you cough.
Oh, the
they're
simpler
doing that in
days
communities all
of
over. Yeah.
washing your hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they're doing that in communities around the world. So tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, Max, who's the founder of Artolution, is coming on. He's just going to share some of those stories from different spots around the world. So just I think of travel as like a flame, and we're trying to keep it lit and trying to keep it, that we'll get back out there, that there will be better days, because there will be. And yeah, that's the message. That's the idea.
Where can people find out how to join? If I share your Twitter handle, will you tweet that out, or specifically about the Zoom chat?
Yeah. Maybe what I'll do is I'll put it in the Zoom chat now.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. Let's see. There's just an Eventbrite link here. I'll post that now.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, well, it's so great to see both of you.
Great to see you. I got one parting question for you. When you are able to get out of sheltering in home, where's the first place you're going?
Back home to Mexico. Man, I know you've spent a fair bit of time in Kenya, right?
Yeah.
You were born in Kenya, I think.
I was born in Nigeria
In Nigeria.
Yeah.
Oh, you grew up. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's definitely a place I'm looking forward. I'm very much looking forward to visiting. Africa is life affirming in so many different ways. I mean,
Great way to put it.
Yeah, and you just see the breadth of like human experience, and it makes you grateful for our lives. Broadly saying, because of course there's people with unimaginable resources in Africa, and there are people living in poverty here, but like it gives you a sense of the breadth of the human condition and landscape and all these things. And like, I think that's, we're all part of this COVID thing together, and dealing with it, together, and people's experiences here now are maybe a little bit, we get a tiny little bit of a sense of, I don't know, what life is like in other parts of the world. It's kind of like an equalizer, which is crazy to think about, but it's true. And like, yeah. So anyway, that's a deep, maybe somber answer to your question, but I'll try to get back to Africa, I think, is my goal.
Awesome. Cool. All right.
Cool.
Good. Thank you for being with us today. We're gonna downgrade you back to attendee, but awesome to be with you.
Cool.
And
All right.
what do you have for a wrap up?
Okay, we had a great show today. Thank you so much to both Elizabeth Gore and Dan Pierson. It was great to hear from Elizabeth on what Alice is doing for small businesses. All of you guys, get onto that site. Check it out. There's so many learning resources there. There's opportunities for grants. There's opportunities to walk you through the things that you really need to do. And to Dan's community, let's get focused on where you're going to travel next, but while you can, Artolution tonight on Eventbrite. It would be a great opportunity for you to think a little bit about stuff that's not related to COVID-19, maybe, or is related to COVID-19, I guess. Sorry, Ariel, this is longer than a minute, but we had a great show with Dan and Elizabeth. We're excited for Launchpad TV next week. We've got some great guests. We'll do Wind Down Wednesday again. Have a great weekend and enjoy your to-go cocktails.
All right. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Great to be with you.